Thursday morning. You guys should both go up to one Thursday morning. Well, we try. Like a little, we're talking.
Before we get started, minimum of 6 might be more desirable on
It would be more desirable.
the 8 would be.
8 would be wonderful.
How about hard drive size? 750 or?
750 would be fine.
Well, even 500, I mean, how much are you gonna put on it?
Well,
Right.
if you're gonna go with 8, then you're gonna probably wind up with at least
You
750.
probably will if you do, yeah.
Yeah.
But 500 would actually be enough.
All of them seem to have 500.
Yeah,
That
that's
seems to be
almost
the
standard
baseline.
now, yeah.
So,
But have you seen how many office type files and things you have to do to fill up 2 or 3 gigs? Never mind 500. Now, if you were doing videos or stuff like that.
what's what they caught my attention on this, it seemed to indicate it would hold like, I forgot how many hundreds of hours of video.
We're going to go ahead and go forward. So, Paul, you have like 2 choices tonight. Because we can either go through and then stop at the points where you made the comments and then just talk about it. I mean, that would be probably faster. Then we can just start right into Article 6.
Okay.
All right,
That
and then
sounds
every time one of those stopping points will just stop for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty.
The only thing is, Eric, was any of this presented by Friday as our rules?
She actually did send stuff in on Friday afternoon. Was at least for 4 and 5. 6 she sent it out, but there was nobody here to get it.
Yeah,
I didn't get it forwarded to me like 8:10 Monday morning.
I didn't get it done yesterday. We have to be careful about whether or not we're going to be setting up different rules for one person than everyone.
So Paula, if you can try to get it, I know you sent it Friday and they weren't here. I got it like Monday morning sometimes. If you can just try to get it over here like before 4 o'clock, it'll be good.
Okay. If I don't have a migraine, I do.
Okay, no,
If
I
I have a
understand.
migraine, I don't.
Okay, thanks.
Give me one every year.
I think I still have a migraine.
So we're gonna start with Article 6 tonight, and then probably, Bill, what's gonna happen, you know, we had the 20th, we put in the extra meeting. It's a good thing we did, because we have stuff to go back and redress anyway. Because I don't see us getting through all of it. So, let me get a little bit frustrated here. Thanks. Okay. Well, first of all, the first question was the title. I guess in the new version, we will bring up Article 6 right here. Meeting material.
Starting on Article 6.
6. And to be honest with you, I don't know why we change it from site plan subdivision review to code enforcement officer application general standards, except for Rick must have suggested it.
I have no idea, I was wondering about that as well.
Well, then let's just say we're gonna keep it the same title as it is right now then. Unless somebody can think of a good reason why it happened, either Rick suggested it and I don't really remember why, or it's just a typo. Those are the only 2 options I can think of, because I can't think of why we would want to change it.
I don't remember ever that verbiage, I don't remember ever even seeing it. Code enforcement officer application doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, so it could have been just something that got cut and pasted in there by accident and never got picked up. So we're gonna leave the same title.
Here's my comments.
Okay, one of the comments that Paula made was we need forms, and I do agree. The last time we did this, I was gonna make forms, and Rick and I never got together to make forms, and when we get done in this regurgitation of this whole thing, the forms are important. Because it's too difficult to follow without the forms. So we have to definitely make the forms.
This is a very minor thing, just, when we say 14 days or 9 days, we're talking calendar days, correct? So,
Correct.
We specify that, or is that necessary? Is that just overworking the issue?
We can write in that first paragraph, we can clarify and write calendar days just to be absolutely crystal clear. Anybody have any other thought why we should or shouldn't do it?
Should it be calendar days or business days, or?
Those are calendar days.
Like I say, we don't put working days, it's automatically calendar days, but yeah, we can set it for June.
Okay. 6 point, all right, now let's just go down through this then. So, did anybody have any comments on this first section of what requires a site plan? I don't think we made any changes, except for, cross-checking these. And one of the things is we did go through this last year at one point. That's why a lot of these changes were started in. I didn't really see any more when I was going through it again the other night, except for this bottom one. Whichever is greater. So like, do we want to, the question here was, there already have been some expansions on some odds and ends around town that are more than 500 square feet. 500 square feet for any kind of a commercial building is nothing. It's a 10 by 50 addition. I think that's why we talked about it before.
Yeah. And I think we were also trying to eliminate the problem of somebody that's got a little place, a couple of hundred square feet. And if they add on 40 feet, they've got to
Right.
come before the planning board with this whole, so whether 500 is too large or not is a question, but the idea was to not make someone come out with a whole site review that just has a little place to start with.
There should be at some point some expansion. Obviously, if a person starts off with a hardware store and then they want to build a Walmart, clearly,
And we just, the 500 is what you can go up to without coming, it's not, but it's not what it exceeds, so it doesn't matter. That's why the 20%'s there.
okay.
Okay, then the way that we ought to read it. Okay. Good.
Okay. So this was expansion means, so I'm just trying to track this through the original one, so I'm keeping track of it. Okay. So, go through and check this off.
The next point was 6.126.
Right, 6.1.2.6. Okay, let's go through the, okay, 1.2.6. Right, I think it was right out the word 2,500. Because this is not including building, this is like parking areas, so this is really, you don't want to be like tiny on that. 500 was tiny,
Yeah, well, that was the whole point.
right? It's like
So we
2 parking
increased it.
spaces or something. So, anyway, but I think the recommendation was to write out 500, so I don't think that there's a, write out 2,500, so I think that's pretty straightforward. Okay, so then, all right. Paula, you had written to us on this one right here about 6.2.3.1. This is pretty chancy. It pretty much assumes the applicant knows what action the board's going to take and agrees to it. Opens the doors for a lot of ifs, ands, and buts. And I really didn't understand what the ifs, ands, and buts or why it would be chancy.
I mean, it's just, if somebody isn't there and they don't have a representative there, and maybe they had some good reason to think you were gonna vote approval and you deny it, or the vice versa, and.
Well, that's why I wrote, if the applicant is authorized or authorized representative is unable to be present, the applicant will submit a waiver request to hear the project without a representative, so they've got to actually ask for it, so it's not,
Yeah, I mean, they can't quibble if they've signed that, but.
Well, that's what we're thinking, and that's why we even, to the next level, not only did they ask for a waiver, but we have to vote before we even do anything. What actually drove this was, there was a gentleman from Philadelphia
Yeah,
who had a shoreline zoning issue, and he ended up staying here until 7 o'clock that night, and he drove all night back to Philadelphia to get home, because he had to be home the next day, and it just seemed, I don't foresee that anybody who has a commercial project or anything really huge is going to do this, but I mean, it does make it so that a out-of-town person who lives far away has an option.
yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it, I'm just like, okay.
But, all right, well, I just want to let you know that there was actually a reason for it. Okay. So, okay, now we're in the tables. Now, Paul, a couple weeks ago, you had sent an email to me, and what I understood from the email, one thing was, and I definitely agree with you, because I didn't realize that the columns, see, I hate it when I can't look at you when I talk to you. I didn't realize the first time I printed it out that the column names didn't appear on the top. So like on the subsequent sheets, it was really hard to follow and confusing. So I went back and I fixed that because of those comments that you made, so it could look like a checklist. So that part I understood that it was too confusing. Okay, but then I went back and did this, and you still, I don't think I got your complete point. So if you could make your point now about why you think that this format isn't as good as it could be, it'd be great.
Well, what I suggested now was, I printed out that page, like if it were just in a table form, that I think leave the text with the submittal requirement text just as you read it, and just have right after that have a little section saying, and this is the table that will guide the board in when they will consider a waiver. I kind of went at it from the opposite. Your table pretty much says, I'm sorry, my head is real windy tonight. What I was envisioning that you would say, no, we'll never consider a waiver for this. And then yes would mean we might consider a waiver.
This isn't a waiver table though.
So it's like,
But it's not a waiver table.
well, that's, okay, so for you, it's like saying, here's what you have to submit.
Correct.
Okay, but on it, you're essentially, if you start out that all submittal requirements are required,
But they're not required for everything.
unless you have a waiver. Isn't that the way the ordinance reads now?
Well, right, but on these things, like on this page, everything is required, but if you come down through it, okay, on the very bottom one, like, there's no location map required on a tier 3 high, and the reason for that is because on the next page, they have a lot more comprehensive maps, so there's no sense in putting in like a little teeny map
Yeah,
plus a really big map. So that's why it says, no, don't do it. So I mean, in all of these requirements, I mean, there's different requirements for different things.
yeah, but like I say, it was just like going at it from the other point of view of just making a checklist so that you could say, if you want a waiver on any of these, you know, these are the ones we'll consider waiver for, and these ones you have to submit a form and you have to submit a fee and,
The problem is, Paula, depending on the type of project, you might consider a waiver for any one of these.
right.
And saying that,
And
well,
it's
never
not-
saying that you want to make it so that we would never consider a
No.
waiver if it says that in here.
No.
So it's, that's what you just said.
Look at what I got up at the top there. No means we never consider a waiver.
That's right.
Yes means we could, and so they would be mostly yeses and very few no's.
But the thing is, waivers are something they have to request.
Right.
Why do we even need to worry about that at this stage?
We don't really want them to ask for waivers.
Yeah,
Okay, I misunderstood your point of, your table didn't exactly say at the top what a yes and no meant. So,
Yes, a yes means you gotta submit the material in that line, and no means,
but it,
If you, I mean, I see what you're saying now.
it's adding to what you already, because without this, every submittal is required.
Right, well, this,
Unless you have a waiver.
but it's not for everything.
If it applies.
If it applies, it doesn't apply to everything. It only applies to certain projects.
see, what we ran into earlier, in fact, the very first thing after this was passed, basically, was someone that came in with a minor project, and technically, they would have had to submit every
Right.
one of these things.
Right,
Well, for somebody that's got a little tiny project, there's no need for most of these.
I know, and that's why I'm doing the same thing, only I'm going at it from the opposite direction.
Well,
But you're specifically making them apply for a waiver on all of these things, when we're saying,
No.
you don't even have to bother to submit it. We're just saying for a low-level project, in many of these cases, forget all of the waiver baloney, you don't need to do it. With your system, they would have to come in and say, I have to apply for a waiver for all of these things for my little project.
Well, they do right now under the current.
yeah, they do. Yeah, you're
Right,
misunderstanding.
they
Yeah, you're
trying-
actually saying, like, you're all like parallel paths, but you're going right past each other. You're like, one
Right,
of
but
you is
she
north
wants
bound, one of you is
us
south
to, she
bound.
wants us to still have to make them make waivers.
Well, no, that's what we do though. We actually do. If that, she's right, if it's a minor subdivision and it says yes, then they have to request a waiver.
Right,
Right.
what we've done here is we've fixed it so that if it's a minor subdivision, it's something we know we're gonna waive ahead of time because it's not applicable.
Well, no, we haven't gotten, right, I know what you're saying. We're just talking formatting now. We're not talking about
But see, this format makes it simpler for people. Her format means they've still got to fill out all of the forms.
Right, well, yes and no. Anyway, you're saying two different things. Paula, what I don't want to get into is I don't want to make a waiver table, because in theory, what we've done, in our opinion, is we've gone through here and we've already figured out what they didn't need to have and what they do need to
Yeah.
have. So we don't actually, if it says yes, we're not encouraging anybody to ask for a waiver if it says yes.
Okay, I think you need to put a sentence or two up at the top of your table.
What
Maybe
the
there is.
The top sentence says.
Yeah, that's
What the yeses and the nos mean.
Right, it says the submission shall contain the following information and exhibits unless specifically waived by the board. So then it says, like 6.3.1, minor subdivision, everything that, yes, you have to do it. But if I can put another sentence in there that says, yes means you have to do it.
Yeah, just to be crystal clear
I
on
mean,
it.
that's an option.
I would-
But, and then the other thing is on the text, the reason we put the text in there is just because for us to go through and review it, it just makes it easier, like on the planning board side. So you can go and look at exactly what we mean, because like this type of listing here means we have to open the page up, look and see what that is, and then we've got to thumb through here and look at that, what the requirement is, and then thumb back and forth. This we can go down through it, and then from this, I can make a spreadsheet that goes down through and does each line item and says that we voted yes or no. I mean, this just makes it and then the public can see it more easily too, I think.
Yeah.
Especially for the applicant, it makes it just so
Yeah.
much easier for the applicant going
Yeah,
down.
I know when we did the rest of the ordinance, we tried not to, make them go this way and that way, that's all.
Right, and that's why this is all one way. You don't have to go this way and that way. You just look at it and then you can see what the whole explanation is.
Okay, it's not gonna be,
No, it's gonna be all just exactly like this. The page, you're gonna have to go in landscape because it just made it so that, otherwise, each text box, if I made it in, portrait format, the text boxes would have been,
Right,
right, yeah, the kind
That's
of
why
book
I
is
said-
okay.
that's why I suggested if you do the titles, then you don't have to
Right.
do landscape.
It's just easier for us to read.
But, it was just a
Yep.
suggestion.
All right, well, that's why I wasn't following, but now I understand what you're trying to say to me.
It wasn't to make any kind of
Yeah, what?
statement about, it was just to,
Well, no, I understand. I knew it was just a formatting question, but I just didn't understand where you were leading me. Now I get it.
So these, some of the issues that we faced in the wind energy part of the ordinance is now like plants in the middle of the map scales, it's just in the one location, right?
Right. So now what we have to do is to buzz down through all of these and make sure that we're okay with what we wrote. And it's gonna take a little bit of time.
And let's be honest, we may discover something afterwards that has to be added.
I know. So, anyway, let's start right at the top here. You know, I should have printed this one out, because this one actually, I don't have that copy of it right there. So, Bill, if you just annotate on this piece of paper here, and I'll try to make a hand note of what to change in each one too. So, all right, so it looks like the first one that we changed was the map scales. I mean, that was pretty straightforward. We were just trying to make it so that the scales somewhat match projects. Right? I mean, there's nothing in 6.3.3. And then everybody has to do this. Yes, no.
For tier 1, do they really need maps? Tier 1, isn't that home occupations?
Twelve two, Vern, right? 12.2 and 12.3.
Actually, looking at 6.3.3, I think it should be saying no smaller than 11 by 17.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I think we're going to have some kind of a picture.
Right, but do you really want them to make all those maps for a home occupation?
Tier 1 and tier 2 should be no's on that one.
Yeah.
Because tier 2 is a light impact. So that's like having
Yeah, you're probably right.
I mean, you still may want a map showing where it is in town. The question is, I think the list of maps here is just a little excessive.
Yeah, the
for
map
tier
is
1
covered
and
in
tier-
6331, the very next one.
This is a general map, shows where it is.
Yeah, okay.
So,
tier 1, tier 2, on 631, I'd say, no, they don't need,
okay. You're probably right. That would be 6.3.
well,
Okay, 6.33. So it should be tier 1 and tier 2 should be no.
633.
Yep. Should be no.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
I was reading it wrong.
And then 6.3. We should have a general map just to show where it is, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's supposed to be plan, the application.
Right.
Yeah, we have.
Now, 6.3.3.2, if we're not gonna have them do the other map, then we probably should say no and no on that one too. Right, 6.3.3.2, the bottom one, for tier 1 and tier 2.
Yeah,
So that should also be no.
whoops.
Hold on a second, hold on. There you go.
Now, see, 6.3.3.3, this is why they don't do the map in 6.3.3.2, because they have to do this big map that shows like 1.5 miles and stuff like that. So there's no sense having to do a little map and then do a big map of the same thing. Follow?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So we're all good.
that's the way when
All right.
I suggested this format,
Yeah.
I intended it.
Yeah. Now, we've already addressed, the boundary survey, obviously, for the subdivisions is required, and we've already taken care of the tier, 1 and 2s with no's here, and the other commercial type projects are all yeses, so for the boundary survey, we're gonna require that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the site conditions, what I probably should do on like 6.3.4, where basically there's nothing like specific there, it's all of the following, so what I should do, maybe just black out or something like that, 6.3.4, that row, so it's not confusing for people. No, leave the words there, but since there's not, that's not the requirement, the requirements are all the little ones.
Right.
I should just put like a black or an X or something in there, so that, because it's not, that's not the requirement, you know what I mean? So, the formatting, it's just a formatting issue. So 6.3.4 row, black or hash.
Just put some gray straw.
A squiggle line of X's.
So the title block, I mean, you do have to have a title block
For everything, yeah.
for everything of some sort. But actually, though, now let's think about this. For the tier 1 and tier 2, we just said that they didn't have to have these maps, but I mean, they have to have some kind of drawing.
Yeah,
Yes,
So-
which we typically get now anyway for an application.
right. I mean, for tier 1, you're gonna be looking at residence and whatever accessory buildings they've got.
Right.
Tier 2 might have a small, building as well.
Right.
Thinking, tier 2 technically would be probably something like, a lawnmower guy.
The guy who sells the outdoor ornaments.
Yeah,
Right.
Tired.
All right. Probably just for record keeping and stuff like that, we want to have a growth management class on there.
Yeah.
yes.
So we're good with that for everybody. And then for the contour lines, we've agreed that we don't need contour lines probably on those little subdivisions, and we don't need them on tier 1 and 2. The buildings we want for everybody, and the flood elevations and stuff like that, or the floor elevations. Streets and driveways, yes. Utilities, yes. Okay. All right. These are significant features, and that's, we did no for the minors, yes for the majors, no, no, and then all 3 yeses. I'll try to get these to get formatted once the thing is finalized. And the wetland delineation, we don't need that for those little projects, so we've taken care of that. This next one is the drainage. We always wanted to have drainage for the subdivisions. But again, in keeping with that other stuff. Same thing for signs.
You think that under signs that you still might need them for small business?
I'd say on the, second one over, below
Tier
it
2?
is a yes.
So, item 10,
Tier 2,
Yeah.
change it to yes.
so tier 1 stays no and tier 2 is yes. Right?
Agreed.
Okay. Then
No, wait,
the,
let's just take it,
Okay.
if you open a home business and you're gonna put a sign up,
Well, the whole
maybe you're a
business,
tax accountant or something, you don't wanna put in a, wouldn't you wanna know where that sign's going? The guys.
well, you have a limitation on sign sizes
Sizes, yeah.
later on.
Yeah.
I'm good either way, it's not something I have. Anybody have any strong feelings about signs, Dave? I mean, the tier 1 business is pretty little. I can't imagine they're gonna put up a very big sign.
I would just leave it okay.
Okay. Then the easements, we always want to know the easements. Fire protection is required for subdivisions, so we have that. And then we're tier 1 and tier 2, no, everybody else, yes. And always need to know the consultants. And on the last one, this is if we increase the study area to look at significant features within 1.5 miles. The only ones we do that for are the really big projects. Do we want to step it down to any of the subdivisions or any of that stuff? Looking at 14.
Generally, subdivisions don't have much of an effect that far outside of the subdivision.
There's 14?
Yeah,
I don't have 14 there.
6.3.4.14.
That's not in this, and that we got.
Oh, you know what? That's because you have an old copy. This is the stuff I put in there after. Remember when Bruce recommended those changes?
Yeah.
That's from like the earlier ones. Because you don't have a legend at the top of your sheet either.
Oh,
Right. See this one? This one does.
so
This
this
is-
is just, is that the last one in this section?
I don't know.
6, 3, 4, 14?
Maybe.
This is,
moved. Go ahead.
well, this, going back to 13, one right above it, this is probably a dumb question, not knowing about how businesses run up here. But when you say seal of the person, what does that mean?
Some of the engineering and surveyors that have a seal, they put on the plan, a seal,
So that's
a stamp or something.
Stamp, like a notary stamp.
Like a notary stamp, right? That's what that is.
All right.
You really need that for the tier 1, I mean, if you're not gonna,
Right. That's a good question. If you're not from around here, it's good to have these things.
we got gas for the tier 1 and 2 on that one. Is it, if you're not gonna do drawings or anything, is he ever gonna have a consultant?
Oh, right.
Probably won't.
Well, it says if applicable,
Yeah.
so there's, you
So
know,
if he does have
Yeah,
a
if he
consultant,
does.
we gotta list.
right,
Okay.
Anybody that does bring in an engineer or an architect or
something, who
or
knows?
something as part of the plans, then
We'll have the seal.
Yeah, it goes.
So, item 14 came out of Article 14, right?
right.
And that's the one that came out of the wind energy area and got included for, basically, we made it so that any big projects, not just wind projects, but if you're gonna put in a big sawmill, you have to do the same thing.
We're not going to pick on just one type of business, we're going to pick on all the big businesses.
Okay.
Now, did you do the same thing here on 635, just to, on the formatting? Or you already took it out?
No, it's the way it ended up on the thing, the yeses, well, at least on mine.
You know what, I need to put a
The heading is missing.
heading, the 6.3.5 heading is missing, thanks. Paul, you never had these problems, did you? Right?
You gotta move it.
When you were doing this, you never had problems with headings and leaving stuff out when you came to the meeting, did you?
No,
It was always perfect.
right,
Okay, just checking.
yeah. That's why we had 28 type, minor changes when we did the year later, right?
Right. So, then this is the next set of requirements for the mapping. So, where did this come from? Because I gotta think about why they say yes for tier 1 and tier 2 for some of this stuff right now.
You just got crazy with the yeses.
Yeah.
What's this?
It was easier to copy than for us.
Didn't want to read it.
Yeah.
Does this just pertain to subdivisions?
Okay, this is subdivisions only. Okay, that's what,
So there would be no
Everything but the.
in tier 1 and tier 2?
6.3.5 5? Oh, okay.
Right, let me just read it again. Proposed. Oh, so proposed or subdivisions. The proposed site plan or subdivision supporting materials must provide a picture of what changes were made and how they will be carried out. Okay, now I'm questioning myself here over. Oh, never mind.
That's all.
This is proposed, okay? That this, the 6.3.5 is proposed, what they're proposing, and the 6.3.4 is what the existing is. That's the difference. Okay, so 6.3 is, no, that's wrong. So it's the proposed stuff. So some of this stuff is gonna look like the same, but it's not, because this is what they're proposing to do, not the existing site conditions. So yeah, I definitely need to get that heading back in there. It does make a difference in how you understand what this document's trying to tell you.
So we wanna put no in tier 1 and tier 2, right down through here?
Yeah, probably,
Because the site,
because we're not even gonna require this. So all of 6.3.5 is gonna be no for tier 1 and tier 2.
Well, no, not all. Because 6.3.5.4 is roads, driveways, and parking.
Well, that's true too. All right, well, it's gonna be a lot of it. So,
contour lines would be, well, you already got no in contour lines, and you got yes in roads, driveways, and parking.
so maybe they are gonna have that title block, maybe they are gonna have, well, it's not even gonna apply to tier 1 and tier 2 for lot lines and things like that anyway, really. We're not gonna put any new ones, so, so,
1 and 2 should be no's in tier 1 and tier 2.
well, 1 is just the title block, so 1 is gonna be yes, 2 is gonna be no. See what I mean, Bill? Item 1 is just the title block. So we need a title block if they're gonna have a drawing.
Okay.
And in item 2, though, we don't need it, because they're not gonna put in property markers and things like that.
So you wanna keep this yes title block?
Title 1, yeah, that's yes, and then 2 is no.
Oh, okay, yes.
And 3 is no, which already is. 4, like Bruce said, is probably gonna be yes. 5 is our easements, we already said they have to have the old easement, so if they're gonna have a new easement, they'll have to say yes. Yeah, I guess 6 is yes.
Yeah.
Now, got back to 7 for signs, so a couple minutes ago, we said that the signs need to be on a tier 2, right?
That's right.
So we change that to yes tier 2.
Yeah.
But I believe something like the Clifton store would probably end up grading as a tier 2.
I would guess so.
It's just standalone business.
Yeah, they might be.
And you would want to know about signs and things for something of that size.
They're gonna probably be tier 3.
Okay,
So,
this one right here on tier 2 should be yes.
which one?
On 6358, and on tier 2 it should be yes.
For a soil plan?
What's that?
For an erosion control plan for a tier 2 for somebody's house lot?
Well, no, this is a standalone business. This is he's not working out of his house anymore, he's got his own little shop. Might be on his house lot.
Yeah.
Just saying, he's got a standalone business.
But we already said he didn't have to do a bunch of plans. This is gonna, in order to do this, you'd have to do all those other plans that we said he didn't have to do.
Okay.
Well, it says right there, it says if the project requires a stormwater permit.
That's a different permit from DEP.
So both of them say no?
If we're gonna be consistent, they'll say no. I mean, if you want them to change, we can change them. Because we're gonna tell them here after, like, why would you do this, and then you don't have to do this. You know what I mean? Where we changed a lot of other stuff, and have to go back and change the maps and everything else. Change the drainage flow diagrams. I think we're good here, right?
Strong
Public use? Yeah,
Yeah, yes, it's on public use.
because these minor subdivisions, this is like 4 lots. It's 5 or more is a major, so. I don't know if we're gonna see these subdivisions in Clifton in my lifetime again or not. Probably someday.
They're already getting ready for one, so.
Oh, there. Utility plan. We don't really need for that, landscaping. Certificates again, approval blocks. No traffic studies. We need to look at formatting the tier. I think tier 1, I don't know why it says tier or 1/2 or whatever it is. Probably tier 1 and 2, maybe. So that's item 14, formatting.
Probably.
Yeah,
I think so.
it, you had a 1 and a 2,
Yeah.
and then it, did the automatic.
Autocorrect, so it's
Yeah.
for tier 1 and 2
Yeah.
application.
All right. And then 6.3.6,
I want to do that.
I need the hashing again. And then this is telling us what the deeds in all the cases, no matter what it is, we always want a deed. We want a general description of whatever it is they're gonna do.
Now, I assume that under evidence of legal interest, a lease or something else would be sufficient.
Right. I think we need to look at and talk to an engineering firm and find out when you actually would do a hydrological groundwater assessment. Because we're saying yes for tier 3 and we're saying yes for major subdivisions, and I mean, the only times I can see that you're gonna need it is if you're drilling wells and things like that. A lot of wells. And, or if there's been some evidence of contamination. Or if you're over maybe a potentially contaminated aquifer. But I don't,
We need to look into that one.
yeah, I think we need to study it. I mean, I don't know the answer to that question. I just want to be sure about like why we're doing it, and then somehow be able to explain it to somebody. Because right now I can't explain it. I go, oh, it says you have to do it.
Yeah, what is it?
What is it? I don't know. I mean, I think I know what it is, and I can see sometimes when you would need it, but. What's that?
Let's ask Paul if you wrote it.
Yeah, Paul, what is it?
I'm sorry?
I don't wait on aquifers.
Was I ignoring you at the proper moment?
Yeah, you were.
Okay.
We're gonna look into that one.